Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Fakhrul Muttaqien. I'm from Fakulty of Accounting 2015. Now I want to present my mini thesis with the title "The Effect of Preventive Supervision, Detective Supervision, and Strategic Implementation on the Effectiveness of Budget Control." Chapter 1: Preliminary Research Background. As a developing country, Indonesia strives to develop by always making change in order to adapt to the development of science and technology. One of the change made to the financial management system. The change was marked by the publication of several laws governing the regulation of the financial management system for local government previously regulated by the central government. Law number 52 of 2004, Articles 182 and 194 on regional government. Law number 32 of 2004, Article 69 and 86 on financial balance between the central government and local government. PP number 58 of 2005 on regional financial management until the latest. PP number 12 of 2019 on regional financial management is an innovation by the government to develop its financial management system. From problems related to the implementation of the budget in government agencies in Indonesia arise. Problems such as corruption, abuse of authority, and inflating project funds are caused by poor treatment of budget implementation. So it takes an increase in budget control that is not only limited to increasing people expertise, but also an increase in budget implementation from January 2017. Budgets require control to ensure that budgets are implemented appropriately and efficiently. Control over the implementation of the budget is carried out to ensure that receipts and expenditures do not deviate from what has been planned. Because effectiveness can measure how effectively or successfully an organization achieves its goal, so that the effectiveness of budget control will minimize budget irregularities. Supervision supports the effectiveness of budget control. This is because supervision is the part of the control, so that the realization of the budget is not optimal due to weak supervision. In addition, supervision has purpose to keep the budget realization in accordance with the predetermined objective, one of which is preventive supervision that can prevent depreciation in budget realization. Preventive supervision is carried out to prevent deviation before the budget is realized. After the procedure is carried out, effective supervision can be carried out by means of an apparatus that will supervise and check the budget to ensure that the budget implementation has gone well and identify errors that occur. The occurrence of loss or unwanted performance indicates a problem in the planning and game of the company. Problems can occur in the planning, which is strategy management is in the strategy formulation stage, but can also be in the implementation of the company in the form of strategy implementation. Implementation of the good strategy will have an impact on good budget control. Achievement of low budget control indicates that the implementation of strategy is not going as it should. In 2017, the absorption of the budget of the principal of the provincial government of DKI Jakarta has increased from 51.82 trillion rupiah or 83.83% can be realized by the provincial government of DKI Jakarta, which was previously only able to realize 42.12 rupiah trillion in 2016. In 2009, in 2018, the budget absorption of DKI Jakarta provincial government again decreased to 81.96%. New direct and indirect spending absorbed 61.55 trillion rupiah of the total allocation 75.09 trillion rupiah. With this amount of absorption, the DKI Jakarta provincial government did not meet the absorption target of 87%. This figure is still lower than the 2017 budget absorption of 83.83%. So, that when compared to previous years, the 2018 budget absorption is lower than 2017 and 2016 budget absorption. This is the table of comparison of 2016 until 2018 DKI Jakarta regional budget absorption. We can see that absorption percentage is increased and decreased from 2016 until 2018. In 2018, released from the news.detik.com, in article entitled "The Worst Absorption of the South Jakarta City Government in DKI," explained that the absorption of the South Jakarta City Government budget was the worst among 5 city governments and 1 regency in DKI Jakarta. In fact, there was only 1 in 6 South Jakarta City Government programs realized in 2018 budget. So, some of the programs that failed to be realized according to Regional Secretary of the Professional Government of DKI Jakarta Fakhrul because of the slow performance of the South Jakarta City Government. As a result, until October 2018, the absorption of budget of the South Jakarta City Government has not reached 50%. Now we go to research question. Number 1, does preventive supervision affect the effectiveness of budget control? Number 2, does detective supervision affect the effectiveness of budget control? And number 3, does the implementation of strategy affect the effectiveness of budget control? Research objective. We have the 3 research objectives. Number 1 is analyze and determine the effect of preventive supervision on the effectiveness of budget control. Number 2 is analyze and determine the effect of the detective supervision on the effectiveness of budget control. And number 3, analyze and determine the effect of strategy implementation on the effectiveness of budget control. Now we go to research benefit. Research benefit divided in 1 theoretical and 2 practical. In the theoretical, the research benefit is the research hope that the result of this study can be additional knowledge and additional information related to the effectiveness of budgetary control in the local government, especially regarding preventive supervision, detective supervision, and implementation of strategy. In addition, the result of this study can be input for research that has an interest in the same phenomenon. On the practical, the research benefits for researcher is of the result of study can provide additional knowledge and knowledge for research related to government accounting. For the South Jakarta City Government is the researcher hope that the result of this study can be input and consideration for the South Jakarta City Government in implementation the effectiveness of budget control, especially regarding preventive supervision, effective supervision, and the implementation of its strategy. So we go to chapter 2, the literature review. The theoretical study. I use the public sector budgeting theory. The theory of public sector budgeting was recently described in the detail by Gibran and Setwat in 2009. So their paper entitled "Continuing the Search for a Theory of Public Budgeting." Gibran and Setwat say that the development of budgeting theory is only a mechanical process that only allocates a certain amount of money, but does not pay attention to normative question and social and political value. Public sector budgeting should produce a budget that can reflect the desire and needs of the community, can be able to determine the revenue and expenditure of the central government and local government. Public sector budgeting theory basically has several types of approach in planning and budgeting. From the literature of Halim and Kusufi in 2017 page 50, explained that there are 2 approaches in the preparation of the budget, namely traditional approach and new public management approach. In new public management approach, there are a performance budget, program budget, zero-based budgeting, planning, programming, and budgeting system, or PPBS. The effectiveness of budget control is effectiveness is measure of the success of the expected result with the result achieved by an organization in achieving its goal. If the economy focuses on outputs or processes, then the effectiveness focuses on outcomes or results. Control is the assessment of the work carried out with the aim of making improvement if needed. So, the work is a plan is in accordance with this realization and objective so that it helps all activities to run to show. They show. Budget is a document that describes the things estimated performance, but in the form of assessing the state and expenditure, which are realized in the monetary measures to be achieved in a certain period of time. The effectiveness of budget control is an assessment of the success or failure of a control over the budget when the budget is implemented by ensuring that the budget arrives at the specific things and monitoring so that budget implementers can take action on differences that might occur so that it can be implemented appropriately and efficiently and is able to minimize budget irregularities. According to Fajri 2018 on Wijaya, the effectiveness of budget control aims to keep the plan in its relation focused on the goals that have been set. Number two, to ensure that its implementation remains in accordance with the established regulation or regulation in force. Number three, ensure that the task is carried out efficiently, including management maintenance in accordance with the purpose. And number four, make effort to be able to overcome obstacles, control deviation, and the consequence. Preventive supervision. Supervision is part of the control. The weakness in the supervision will result the implementation of the budget realization is not optimal. Supervision aims to keep the plan in its realization remain focused on the objective that has been determined in accordance with regulation. Basmir in 1999, page 119, 118, divides supervision by its nature into preventive supervision and detective supervision. Preventive supervision is the supervision carried out before the implementation of activity. The goal is to prevent the occurrence of irregularities that may occur. It is expected that with the implementation of preventive supervision, it can effectively supervise the budget that has been set to that it can be realized optimally. Performance-based budgeting therefore falls into preventive supervision. According to PP number 16 article 18 of 2008 concerning the government internal control system, government agencies shall implement controls consisting of reviewing the performance of government agencies concerned, human resource development, control over the information system, physical control over assets, determination and review of the performance indicators and measures, separation of functions, authorization of important transaction and events, accurate and timely recording of transaction and events, restriction of access to resources in their recording, accountability for resources in their report, good documentation of internal control system, transaction, and important events. Now we go to detective supervision. Supervision is part of the control. The weakness of the supervision will result in implementation of the budget revision is not optimal. Like we said before, supervision aims to keep the plan is the revision remain focused on predetermined goals and accordance with regulation. Supervision by its nature becomes preventive supervision and detective supervision. After preventive supervision is carried out, the later the apparatus assigned to oversee the budget will check to ensure that the budget has been executed properly and identify errors that occur. Detective supervision is a form of supervision carried out by superiors against subordinates by researching and evaluating accountability report documents, which are usually carried out after an activity is carried out. Detective supervision is divided into two, namely detective supervision from near and detective supervision from afar. Remote supervision is supervision carried out by testing and examining the publisher's accountability report and supporting evidence. Close supervision is supervision carried out in the place where work takes place or the place where administrative activities are held. The examination in the case is not only carried out on the proof of expenditure, but continued on the accuracy of the evidence material. Now we go to strategy implementation. Strategic management process contains the organization. First is setting the direction and mission of the organization. Second, understanding the internal and external environment. Number three, formula of strategy. Number four is implementing the strategy. Five is evaluate the strategy. All activities and choices needed in carrying out a strategic planning. Strategic implementation is the process of strategy being transformed into action through the development of programs, budget, and procedure. Implementation is usually considered after the strategy is formulated, but implementation is the key to successful strategy management. In the implementation of strategy in the public sector, should focus on mobilizing employees and managers to put in the strategy that has been formulated into concrete action that requires high performance and discipline, and managed with appropriate and adequate reward. The stage of strategy implementation consists of program determination, budget determination, and procedure determination. Of these three activities, budgeting is an activity that very influential closely with the achievement of budget control. The achievement of low budget control indicates that implementation of strategy is not in accordance with it should be. Now we go to relevant research from Arif Fajri in 2018, effect of preventive supervision and effective supervision on the effectiveness of budget control in Padang City Office. That is from Bayu Yosabaskara in 2017, the effect of preventive supervision and detective supervision on the effectiveness of budget control in Padang City Office. Number three, from the Fitra Pratama in 2014, effect of performance-based budgeting, preventive supervision, and detective supervision on the effectiveness of budget control. Critical study on SKPD in Kelelawar. Number four is from Fuade Dendi in 2017. Effect of ignorant supervision, functional supervision, preventive supervision, detective supervision, and performance-based budgeting on the effectiveness of budget control. Critical study on SKPD of Riau Provinsi. Number five is from 3D CRNing in 2017. The effect of ignorant supervision, functional supervision, preventive supervision, detective supervision, and performance-based budgeting on the effectiveness of budget control. Critical study on SKPD of Indra Giri Hilir Provinsi. Next, from Julio Herbe Randa in 2014, effect of preventive supervision and detective supervision on the effectiveness of budget control. And critically study on SKPD in Kampar Region. And Arif Wadi in 2015, with the effect of preventive supervision and detective supervision on the effectiveness of budget control. Critical study on SKPD Bukit Tinggi. And the last from Edi Mulyadi Supardi in 2009, the effect of formulation and implementation of strategies to control the survey budget on the state-owned enterprise that suffer loss. This is the theoretical framework. We can see that preventive supervision, detective supervision, and strategy implementation going to effectiveness of budget control. Now, this is a formulation of hypothesis. Hypothesis 1 is preventive supervision effect on the effectiveness of budget control. Hypothesis 2, the detective supervision effect on the effectiveness of budget control. And hypothesis 3, strategy implementation effect on the effectiveness of budget control. Now we go to chapter 3, the research methodology. Place and time, places. The study was conducted directly at the South Jakarta Mayor's Office as the object of research. We're going directly to the South Jakarta Mayor's Office to distribute questionnaires to respondents in order to obtain the data needed in carrying out research. And the time is, the study was conducted in the May 2020 until January 2021. Research detail. The study uses quantitative methods with a multiple regression analysis model. Using quantitative methods, the author can involve a fairly large subject of research. Researchers use a multiple linear regression model because multiple linear regression analysis can process the data more than one independent variable. In this study, there are three independent variables to one dependent variable. In addition, the author also refers to journals that are references in the study. In the study, the data used come from questionnaires that have been distributed to respondents. Questionnaires is one of the techniques used in collecting the required data by providing some questions and writing statements that have been adjusted to the individual. Population and sample. Sugiono in 2017, page X61, is described the population as a generalization of consisting of budget of objects or subjects that have a certain quantity and characteristic are set by researchers to be studied after death. The sample is part of the population whose number and characteristics are in accordance with the population. Subject sumber is from Sugiono 2016-62. Determination of sample in the study using purposive sampling method is the determination of sample with a special consideration, so it is visible to the sample. The criteria determined in the study are: one, the office of excellency who has been working for more than 5 years and be directly responsible for the preparation and absorption of the budget. Based on the criteria, the number of samples from this study are 8 section heads, 24 subsection heads, 22 department heads, 6 agency heads, and 2 service unit heads working in Jakarta City Government South. So, the total population in this study amounts to 62 respondents. Operationalization of variables. Effectiveness of budget control. The conceptual definition is an assessment of the success of failure of the control over the budget when the budget is implemented by ensuring that the budget arrives at the specific things and monitoring so that the budget implementers can take action under their principles. It can occur so that it can be implemented appropriately and efficiently and be able to minimize budget irregularities or leaks. Operational efficiency is realization of the budget, compliance with the regulation, usable yield, and overcoming obstacles and irregularities. We go to preventive supervision, operationalization of variables from preventive supervision. Conceptual definition is preventive supervision is a supervision carried out before the implementation of its core activities to prevent the occurrence of irregularities. And the operational definition is a performance review, human resource development, control over the management of information system, physical control over asset, determination and review of indicators and measures of work, preparation of function, authorization of transaction and events, accurate timely recording of transaction and events, restriction of access to resources and their logging, accountability for resources and their recording, good documentation of internal control system, transactions, and important events. So we go to operationalization of variables from effective supervision. Conceptual definition is this form of supervision is carried out by researching and evaluating accountability, report documents which are usually carried out after an activity is carried out. Operational definition is superior supervision, lesser supervision, and supervision of the head of the bureau or regional office. And the last is operational variable from the strategy implementation. Conceptual definition is all the activities and options required to execute strategic planning that transform the strategy process into action through the development of program, budget, and procedure. It is usually considered after the strategy is formulated, but the implementation of the strategy is the key to success of the strategic management. Operational definition is program setting, budget setting, and procedure setting. The analysis technique. Descriptive statistics. Statistics used in the describing the object under study with sample or population data included, without analyzing and drawing conclusions applied to public. The data quality test is divided into validity test and reliability test. Validity test is valid results are when there is a similarity between the data collected with the data that actually occurs in the object under study. A valid instrument proves that the measuring instrument used to obtain the data or measure is valid. Valid means that the instrument can be used to measure what is to be measured. The reliability test is the result can be said to be reliable if there is a similarity of data in different times. A reliable instrument means an instrument that when used multiple times to measure the same object produce the same data. Now, multiple linear regression analysis is again alpha, beta, classical assumption test, the normality test, multicollinearity test, and heteroscedasticity test. Normality test is performed to determine whether the variable is a destructor or residual in the normal distributed regression method. If the result or P value is greater than 0.05, then the residual value are normally distributed. And the multicollinearity test is test whether the regression model found a high correlation or perfect and another variable tree. If variant inflated factor of PIF under 10, then there is no problem on multicollinearity. And the heteroscedasticity test is test whether in the regression model there is an inequality of variance from the residual of one observation to another observation. If the p-value is less than 100, then 0.05, then there is no heteroscedasticity problem. Now, hypothesis testing is the coefficient of determination testing. On a coefficient of determination, measure how far the ability of regression model is independent variable. The value of coefficient of determination must be more than 0 to prove the existence of relationship between the independent and dependent variable. The closer the coefficient of determination is to 1, the stronger the relationship between the independent and dependent variable. And the test of P is show how far the influence of an independent variable to the dependent variable, but assuming other independent variable constant. If the probability value is less than 0.05, then the independent variable separately affect the dependent variable. Now we go to the chapter 4, the results and discussion. Research object. The study focused on the section head, subsection head, department head, agency head, and service unit head working in South Jakarta Management Office. In the study, the data obtained the primary data obtained directly by distributing questionnaires to respondents, namely section head, subsection head, department head, agency head, and service unit head who work in the South Jakarta Management Office. The total sample of this study was 62 respondents with the data collection carried out in May 2020 up to January 2001, contacting and going directly to the South Jakarta Office. Table 4.1 is the level of questionnaire dissemination and collection. The information is the 62 number of questionnaires sent, 62 number of questionnaire returned, but only 60 number of questionnaires can be used. So the presentation of questionnaire can be used is 98%. The source is data processed by the auditor in 2022. Now we go to the respondent description. In the table 4.3 description of respondent, we can see that the man is 42 at the percentage of 70%, and the woman is 18 at the percentage of 30%. From the characteristics of respondent age, there are 35 until 45 years old, there 8% that 13 percentage, and from 45 until 50 years old is 12% and 20% percentage. And the majority is from 50 until 55 years old. From the 21 amount to the 35%. And the last is 55 years old. The amount is 19.32%. Now, position is head of division is 8, head of subsection is 24, head of subdepartment is 25, 21, and head of agency and head of unit is 7%. The table of for the descriptive statistics of all variables is, you can see that preventive supervision, effective supervision, strategic implementation, and budget control is have a standard deviation from 7.388 to 0.854 and 3.615. And the last is 3.240. So we go to the validity test. Validity test has the purpose to measure the validity or not of each statement on the research of variable by correlating each statement with the total value of the respondent. The statement items is declared valid if R count more than R table or this value and detail smaller than 0.05. Now we can see the validity test from the table for 0.13 until 4.16 that the result of effectiveness of budget control is 1 not valid. And from the preventive supervision, we can see that there are 3 questionnaires is not valid. The reliability test. The reliability test aims to measure consistency of the results of the measures can be trusted or reliable from each questionnaire indicator of the research variable. The reliability test was carried out using Congress alpha coefficient. The instrument is said to be reliable if it gives Congress alpha value more than 0.17. And from the table 4.17 reliability test result, we can see that from preventive supervision, effective supervision, strategic implementation, and budget control effectiveness is more than Congress alpha. And this decision is reliable. Now we go to the normality test. Normality test is conducted to test whether in the data in the regression model confounding variable or residuals are able to distribute. Now, a good regression model is one that has a normal or near normal data distribution. The normality test is performed in 2 ways, namely by looking at the normal p-plot and Kolmogorov-Smirnov statistical test or QST. We in the picture of 4.1 show the result of the normality test by means of the normal p-plot. From the figure, it is shown that the dots are located around the diagonal line. So it can be concluded that the research data is in accordance with the assumptions of normality. And from the table 4.18 Kolmogorov-Smirnov or KS result, it can be seen that the value of the assumed significant total of 1.2000 or greater than the standard normal distributed data value of 0.05. This means that based on the KS test, the data from this study are normally distributed. Now we go to the multicollinearity test. Multicollinearity test is conducted to determine the existence of the correlation between independent variables. A good regression model is a regression model that is free from the symptoms of multicollinearity, can be seen from the value of tolerance and variance inflation factor. The tolerance is 0.10 and PIF is 10. Multicollinearity occurs. On the other hand, the tolerance value is 0.10 and value is 10. Then there is no multicollinearity. See also the table from table 490. It can be concluded that the independent variables in this study were free from symptom of multicollinearity because the nearest value of preventive supervision variable is 0.958. The effective supervision of X2 is 0.1562, and the strategy implementation is 0.564. It's greater than multicollinearity standard, which is 0.10, while the pure from the PF value of the top value is less than 10. So we go to the heteroscedasticity test. Heteroscedasticity test is used to determine the presence or absence of the variance differences in residual or error in the model. Heteroscedasticity test is also done to test whether there is an inequality in the regression model variance of the residual of one observation in another observation. In the study, researchers conducted heteroscedasticity test with graph analysis through plot graph and statistical analysis through Bayes test. In the graphic plot or p-plot or scatter plot, picture 4.2 shows that the dots spreading randomly above and below point 0 on the y-axis do not form a specific pattern. Therefore, based on the scatter plot graph, heteroscedasticity does not appear on the regression model. Okay. From the Glacier test result, according to table 4.20, significance value of preventive supervision variable is 0.613. Effective supervision is 0.551, and the strategy implementation is 874. Greater than Glacier test is standard is 0.05. So it can be concluded that the regression model does not occur heteroscedasticity. Now we go to multiple regression analysis. Multiple regression analysis aims to measure the linear relationship that occurs between two or more independent variables with one dependent variable. Multiple regression analysis is used to predict how the state rise and fall of dependent variables. When two or more independent variables as predictor factors are manipulated or the value is increased and decreased. The study examines the linear relationship between preventive supervision, detective supervision, and strategic implementation as independent variables and the effectiveness of budget control as independent variables. From the table 4.21 shows the result of the regression coefficient value of each variable in this study. Regression coefficient value for preventive supervision variable is 0.015. Detective supervision is 0.459, and strategic implementation is 0.259. As for the value of constant is of 100. From the regression model equation, there is an explanation for this study as follows. The value of constant for A of 1 is 13 for 13,441. Show a positive sign, which means that if the independent variable of preventive supervision, detective supervision, and strategic implementation remain of value 0, then the effectiveness of budget control has a value of 13,441. The value of coefficient of preventive supervision of negative 0.0515 and leads to negative indicates the negative relationship of preventive supervision to the effectiveness of budget control. When preventive supervision increased by 1 unit, there was decreases in effectiveness of budget control by 1.5%. Coefficient value of detective supervision of 0.459 and positive direction indicate a positive influence made by detective supervision on the effectiveness of budget control. When the detective supervision increased by 1 unit, there was an increase in the effectiveness of budget control by 0.409 or 45.9%. The failure of coefficient of strategy implementation of 0.259 and positive direction indicate the positive influence made by the support provided by the implementation of the strategy on the effectiveness of budget control. When the implementation of strategy increased by 1 unit, there was an increase in the effectiveness of budget control by 0.259 or 2 and 25.9%. So we go to partial significance test or P. Partial significance test or P test was conducted to determine how far the influence of one independent variable individually on the dependent variable. To find out whether or not an independent variable has an effect on the dependent variable. It can be done by comparing the value of P count with P table and its signification value. The value of P table obtained from the value of the degree of freedom or df. The value of df is calculated by the formula df is equal of number of respondents for n minus number of independent variable of k minus 1. From the tab, based on the result of table from point 22, the conclusion can be drawn for hypothesis testing are as follows. The first hypothesis or hypothesis 1, the test bed of partial test result in the table 422 show that the value of the account and the value of the significance of preventive supervision variable is equal to negative 0.318 or less than the 2003 and 0.752 or more than 0.05, which means hypothesis 1 is accepted and HO is accepted and HA is rejected. So it can be concluded that hypothesis 1 is rejected or preventive supervision has no significant effect on effectiveness of budget control. The second hypothesis. Test based on partial test result of the test in the table 4.22 show that the value of T count and the signification value of the variable detective supervision is equal to the 2092 or more than 2003 and 0.005 less than 0.05, which means how rejected and how accepted. So it can be concluded that hypothesis 2 receipt or detective supervision has a significant effect on the effectiveness of budget control. And the third hypothesis, the test based on the partial test result in the table 4.22 showed that the value of the T count and the signification value of the strategy implementation variable is equal to 219 or more than 2019 or more than 2003 and 0.041 less than 0.05, which means HO is rejected and HA is accepted. It can be concluded that hypothesis 3, the shift or the implementation of the strategy has the significant effect on the effectiveness of budget control. The test coefficient of determination. Coefficient of determination test for R quadrant test is done to determine how much the ability of the independent variable in explaining or influencing the dependent variable. The value of the coefficient of determination range from 0 to 1. The closest The closer the coefficient of determination or adjusted F square is to 1, the stronger the relationship between the independent and dependent variable. From the table 4.22, result of the coefficient of determination expressed in the table 2 on the adjusted F square test by looking show that the variable of preventive supervision, detective supervision, and strategy implementation were able to explain 0.32 or 32% of the variable of budget control effectiveness. The remaining, the 63% is explained by other variables outside this study. Now the discussion. First, the effect of detective supervision on the effectiveness of budget control. In this study, based on the result of statistical calculation or t-test, can be obtained the results that the preventive supervision does not significantly affect the effectiveness of budgetary control. The results can be explained as follows: that respondents who carry out preventive supervision in the form of procedure will not directly affect the effectiveness of budgetary control, because most of deviation from the use of the budget occur during the implementation of activity and reporting of these activities. Preventive supervision also aims to prevent budget irregularities that have an impact on effectiveness of budget control, not to stop this budget irregularity. So that the budget deviation can occur after the procedures and guidelines are made or when the use of the budget occurs. In addition, by looking at the distribution of respondents, transferring the variable in question number 4, it can be analyzed that some respondents have not outlined the position and standard operating procedure or SOP of the agency to the employee. This, of course, can make the employees that do not know and have not implemented standard operating procedure and that conduct budget irregularities. In question number 8, it can also be analyzed that some respondents still do not consistently compare employee performance achievement with the performance indicators that have been set. As a result, the performance of employees who are not in accordance with the established performance indicators are not reviewed and evaluated properly, so as to increase the opportunity to implement budget irregularities. Therefore, question item number 15, some of respondents have not evaluated employees who do not classify transactions even quickly and precisely. So that transactions that are not classified quickly and precisely can also be loophole for implementing budget irregularities that make budget control ineffective. Number 2, the effect of detective supervision on effectiveness of budget control. In this study, based on the result of statistical calculation of the test, it can be obtained that detective supervision has a significant effect on effectiveness of budget control. This means that the better the detective supervision, the higher the effectiveness of budget control. The detective supervision variable in this study uses 3 indicators, namely supervisory supervision, tertiary supervision, and supervision of the head of the bureau or regional office. By looking at the distribution of answer from respondent on this variable, in question item number 27, it can be analyzed that the respondent in the study have examined all the documents of accountability report on the realization of the budget that have been given by the treasurer. So the use of the budget contained in the accountability report has been researched and evaluated by the treasurer can be evaluated has been effective and accordance with the provision or not. This can increase the effectiveness of budget control. However, for question number 31, it can also be analyzed that the respondent in this study who have not seen the head of bureau or regional office verifying the routine cash situational report or LKKR. So there are still some detective supervision that has not been carried out properly by the head of bureau or regional office on the routine cash situational report. And the number 3, the effect of the effect of implementation strategy of the effectiveness of budget control. In the study, based on the result of statistical calculation or fitness, it can be obtained that the strategy implementation has a significant effect on the effectiveness of budget control. This means that in the implementation of strategy, the higher the effective of the budget control. Strategy implementation variable in this study is used three indicators. Is memory program determination budget determination, program determination, budget determination, and procedure determination. By looking at the distribution of answer from the respondent to this variable, in question item number 22, it can be analyzed. The respondent in this study have set a budget in accordance with the planned program. However, for question item number 24, it can be analyzed that there are respondents in this study who have not established a function procedure to realize the budget that has been set. So there are still many procedures that are set but do not function in realizing the budget that has been set. So we go to the final chapter or chapter 5 or closing. Conclusion. After conducting the research on head of section, head of division, head of department, head of sub-department, and head of service units working at the South Jakarta Managed Office, totally 60 respondents with a dependent and independent variable were found to be resolved process to the SPSS program, namely as follows. One, preventive control has no significant effect on the effectiveness of budget control. This can happen because most deviation from the budget occur during budget execution, not when making procedure or guidelines regarding the use of the budget. In addition, several respondents who carry out preventive supervision have not described standard operating procedure or SEOP to employees. So the employees does not know and carry out the procedure. The conclusion number 2 is found a significant effect of detective oversight on the effectiveness of budget control. This explains that the supervision carried out after the activity is carried out is more effective because the more on the use the budget submitted is more accurate than before the activity is carried out. In addition, the report is easier to research and evaluate. And number 3, there is a significant effect of strategy implementation on the effectiveness of budget control. Budget determination indicators in the strategy implementation can improve effective budget control because the budget that has been set can be more easily monitored so the leaders are able to carry out budget control. The budget that has been set can also increase employee awareness in realizing the budget. The implication. Based on the conclusion above, the theoretical and practical implications that must be applied in accordance with the result are: number 1, theoretical implication. This research has provided information and data that the effectiveness of budget control can be influenced by the strategy implementation variable. This variable is still very rarely used in the research related to the effectiveness of budget control. Therefore, the use of strategy implementation variable is the other's contribution to the scientific development of the budget control effectiveness variable. And number 2, from the practical implication is the South Jakarta City government should continue to focus on effective budget control, implementing preventive supervision, effective supervision, and strategy implementation, especially on the implementation of the standard operating procedures that have been set, because properly implemented SOP will increase the effective budget control and prevent budget irregularity. And research limitation, based on the research result, this study also has limitation. Namely, number 1 is this research is only limited to the 3 independent variables, namely preventive supervision, effective supervision, and strategic implementation. Therefore, the author hopes that the further research can develop it by using or adding other variables to test the effectiveness of budget control, such as embedded supervision, performance-based budgeting, etc. Number 2, this research is also limited to references from journals and books that have not been updated. So there are references from several years ago that are used. And the last is research recommendation. Further, researchers who want to conduct research in government are expected to pay attention to the situation, condition, and time of distributing questionnaire because some employees have busy periods such as at the beginning and the end of the month or are not on duty in the office. So returning the questionnaires at on time. In addition, it is hoped that the further researchers will be able to find and use more and more updated references so that they can examine more adequately the effectiveness of budget control, preventive supervision, effective supervision, and strategic implementation. And that's for me, that's for all. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.